How's it going, everyone? Dragon's Dogma 2 is a game that we're super excited for. We've already done videos before on the channel, and well, IGN have come out with their sort of Trickster Vocation breakdown, which is that brand new vocation that was shown off that's all about supporting and buffing and creating illusions, and it looks really interesting. It looks odd but interesting. So 26, we're gonna just check out what they have to say about it, right?
Yeah, we've covered like all of the other classes on the main Aris Gaming channel, so it's nice to just see our like first reaction to this actually, just over here, you know, see what is going on.
Definitely. I mean, this is one that has me interested. I don't know if I'll pick it over something like the Mystic Spear Hand, but
Dragon's Dogma 2 offers a wide variety of playstyles depending on what vocation you select. Most of these are the kinds of archetypes that you'd expect: melee sword fighter, speedy dagger-wielding thief, ranged archer, and spell-slinging mage. And some are hybrid vocations.
You know what's something
like
weird? Just to pause it real quick. Something odd about the thief, which I haven't actually seen demonstrated anywhere, but it does say on the website that the thief can actually steal things from NPCs.
Who would have guessed?
No, but what's funny about that is I don't think in Dragon's Dogma 1 there was any way to steal stuff. No other characters seemingly have that ability. And it's like, it's not been shown anywhere, but it definitely says it on the website. So I'm kind of, I want to know how that works, because it could end up being pretty
It's
strong.
gonna be like Skyrim, like where they just yoink.
Just got a bucket on their head.
And Magic Archer that combine elements of one vocation with another for a completely new style of play. But what of the Trickster vocation? It was revealed as part of the Dragon's Dogma 2 showcase back in November, but little has been shown of this unique class beyond that quick.
You see what he says there, right?
And a short description on the Dragon's Dogma 2
He says
website.
it combines like two classes together and then talks about the Trickster.
That's the thing. So the Trickster, so when he was saying that, he was showing like the Magic Archer and whatnot. So all of these are known as like hybrid vocations. So in the game, you've got different tiers. So you got like your starter vocation, then you have advanced vocation. So for example, a starter vocation's like fighter, and then advanced would be warrior, or is it the other way around? I think that's something like that. And then you have like mage and sorcerer. So this is like starter to advanced, but then you have hybrid that mixes two together, and that's where Trickster's really weird, because, and we've talked about this in main channel videos, but it has that different colored icon. Did they actually show the icon there on the screen just now with that text?
No, they didn't.
And a short description on the Dragon's Dogma 2 website. Fortunately, as part of our visit to Capcom,
which means that there's probably more base classes, right?
For about an hour, and I can confidently.
Well, this is the hot debate, 26. The hot debate of the moment is like, you know, what's going on here? They have traditionally had these very easy to understand and very nicely like logical color coded classes that have like the hybrid class that mixes the two colors together, and it's all laid out nicely. And then they're like, oh yeah, guys, here's Trickster, and it's like pink, purple, which has no correlation to any existing class. So I think like what you're saying is, yeah, it would make sense if there's two new sort of like starter or base vocations that mix into the Trickster, but I don't know, we're getting pretty close to release. Are they going to hide this many classes from us?
Guys, if you're watching, like, let us know what you're thinking. I'm thinking there's more. I think it'll be like a letdown if there isn't like more like classes than there were in the first game as well. So let us have a little bit of options, a little bit more options to play around with.
No, I agree. I mean, as a sequel, you kind of want like, you kind of want it expanded on, you want it bigger and better, and we know that the world is bigger and better, being like what 4 times the size. But are the classes and all that there? Either way, I don't know if it will impact me that much, because Mystic Spear Hand is already locked in. So.
Definitely say that this is a style of gameplay unlike anything I've ever seen in an open world action game.
The Trickster deep dive.
To start, the Trickster is essentially a pacifist. Their chosen weapon, a ceremonial censer, does little to no damage when it's swung at an enemy. Instead, the purpose of attacking is to build up aggro and pull an enemy's attention towards you. To that end, you also have a special ability.
So you do no damage, you just build aggro. That's really weird. Yeah. You know what? I feel like this. Do you feel like? I feel like this class is something that would make so much sense if the game was like multiplayer.
Yeah, definitely. Just as a support kind of thing. But I still feel like it's going to be like super powerful. He's just going to see like a solo player just waving around there for breeze everywhere, like.
Spraying.
Spraying in a wide area and draws a large amount of enemy attention towards you. So the question is,
that clone,
why would you
right?
want to get a whole group of enemies swarming on you if you can't actually damage them?
It doesn't
So
last
that's where
very
the
long. Do you
word
see how
trickster
quickly
comes
it died there? That's interesting. I think it was so it's already wounded, right?
Yeah.
But you can
Want to
see
get a
that the
whole
clone
group
has
of enemies
health,
swarming on you
and
if
it
you
dies
can't
in 2
actually
hits, and it
damage
had about what, a quarter
See,
health?
that's where the word trickster comes into play. By using the trickster's unique skill, effigial incense, you create a simulacrum, or a clone for simplicity's sake, that enemies will perceive as the real you. This clone has its own health bar
Okay.
and will disappear if it's killed, but you can also teleport the clone to you while it's still alive with the press of a button.
The
This
aggro
way,
looks
you
really
can
strong
basically
though. Like
kite
they are
Yeah,
fully
super
going for
strong.
it.
as long as you keep their aggro and keep your clone alive. So, you can maneuver a foe to get an environmental advantage, which is super important because the Trickster shines the brightest when there are cliffs, uneven surfaces, or other elements of the environment that can be used to your advantage. The Trickster has 2 abilities designed around creating surfaces that aren't really there, but appear real to enemies.
Oh, that's cool. You
First,
can do
Tricky
2 at
Terrace
once.
creates a cloud that can be placed off a ledge
This one's really
that the enemy
cool.
will perceive as real solid ground. And the second, Elusive Divider, will create a wall of smoke that you can see through, but the enemy cannot.
Ah.
The final piece of this puzzle is the Visitant Aura, a technique that
This
essentially
is-
allows
this
you
is
to react to
crazy.
astral projection, and you can freely move around to scout the landscape for as
Why is
long
it
as
like
your
some
stamina
naked
will
guy?
allow.
I was thinking that. I was just like
Walk
naked
around.
guy just
So,
floating
using
around
Elusive
like
Divider to give
the monsters
yourself
are like.
some cover while using it in the heat of battle is a good idea. Crucially, you can float off ledges, ascend or descend at will, and even call your clone to wherever your projection currently is.
That's
I'm
cool
sure
that
you
that can
probably
summon the
see why that
clone.
might be useful. When you combine all of these tricks together, the real value of the Trickster comes into view. Before getting into a combat encounter, you can create a clone with effigial incense, use Visitant Aura to scout
I
out
just want to say, we haven't got there yet. Maybe they'll show it. I'm hoping they'll show it in this, because I wonder what level and how far in the game this sort of demo is where they got to try the Trickster out. Like, is there additional skills that they haven't unlocked that allow you to do some, like, proper wild stuff? Because it looks cool that you can, like, bait things off of a ledge, but after you've done that, like, 3 or 4 times, I feel like for me that would get quite old, you know? Having to, like, do all this
Yeah.
elaborate setup
But like,
just to make them
it
jump
just
off a
won't work
ledge.
in certain situations. What are you going to bait a griffin off of a cliff? It's just going to start flying. Like, what? You're going to bait a big dragon
Also,
off a cliff? Like, no.
2-6, I say this as well. In the first game, like, things drop stuff when they die, and you want
Yeah.
that loot. So if you're baiting everything off the cliff, what are you gonna go spend 10 minutes to find a way down this cliff to go
Yeah.
and get your loot, and it's despawned, or like just give up on the loot? So
I know this.
I like that. I like that you can do this, but I don't know if this is.
the way
I'm
it's
hoping
played.
that this
I don't
isn't
feel like it's,
everything,
I don't
yeah.
feel like it's the way it's played. It'll be a weird way to play the game. Like as you're saying, you just won't get your rewards. You wouldn't get. Like, what?
Right.
Every time you got to be looking for a higher up area to
For
drop
enemies,
something
look
off.
For any
Like
sort
what?
of environmental hazards, like a cliff for instance, recall your clone so that it hovers over said environmental hazard, place a false floor underneath it with Tricky Terrace, then lure enemies close to the clone and use Suffocating Shroud to send all their aggro towards the clone.
Wait,
and
hold
then
on.
Watch with
Did he say that's? I just want to check the actual skill name for that wall, because he called it what,
Ether with
Tricky
Terrace,
Terrace.
then lure
Is it actually called that? It says in the, you can
funny.
see in the bottom right behind the
place
the
a false
logo.
floor underneath it with
It is called
Because-
Tricky
yeah.
Terrace.
That is so
Then
funny.
lure enemies close to the clone and use
Maybe
Suffocating
you are
Shroud
meant to do that
send
with it,
all their
because
aggro
a
towards the
terrace
clone,
is
and then
kind of like
watch
something
with glee
on
as
an edge of a
enemies throw
No,
ledge,
you're
like,
100% to
you know.
do with
Maybe
that, and that
forgetting.
makes sense, but not necessarily. I don't feel like there must be like another kind of method to dispatching foes, and I think it comes through probably your AI companions and like buffing them up. Probably didn't
Now,
have like the
obviously,
greatest of
This
buffs.
is a lot of prep to go through, and it isn't going to be
Yeah.
practical in every single
But we saw in the
situation,
showcase they
which
had
is
that
why the Tricksters
amazing,
also
like,
equipped with
dragon
some other tricks up their
illusion
sleeves.
that, like,
First and
knocked the
foremost,
griffin out the
they
sky.
are support
Yeah.
class, relying on and substantially buffing the strength of their pawn party so that they can do most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, I
Once
feel
You know
like
what I
this
will
is where
say
most
as
of your
well?
damage is going to come from your pawns, like just pumping them up and
Mm.
making sure that they like have like that deeps and stuff like that, and really building them well and recruiting the good ones from your friends.
That's it. That's what I was gonna say. Like, when people start to really get their hands on the game, there's gonna be some busted pawns that you can like just get off of other players. So it could end up being extremely powerful once people have set up their pawns to just be like the ultimate like
Aromatic Resurgence,
support, like damage
which
dealing
supercharges your
pawn or
party,
something.
making them hit a lot harder. While I was playing for gameplay capture reasons, I had to make a mental note not to use this buff because my pawns would kill all of my foes before I got a chance to show off any of the more technical tricks of the Vocation.
You just literally
the
said
most
it.
powerful spell I
Wow.
You
can
just said
but-
it.
well, there
You
you
just what?
The enemies
like,
are dying
oh, yeah.
so quick from the AI, you couldn't even do anything. Like,
But,
okay.
yeah, let's just lower everything off of a cliff.
No, that's cool though. That's what you want. If you literally can't do damage yourself, then the buff
Yeah.
needs to be impactful. So if they're actually killing them that quick before you can do a little, set up a ledge and fly a thing over, then it obviously is a really strong buff, and it has to be a strong buff. Otherwise, no one's gonna play the support class that can't support.
Saw the Tricksters was Dragon's Delusion, which takes some
Oh,
time
here we
to
go.
cast, but brings forth an illusion of a dragon that terrifies
That is
any
so
enemy that
cool.
sees it. Even
Yeah, and then you
large
just got
ogres,
your
bringing them down to
AI
their knees,
buddies
your
just like
cause
chopping
ample
them with their
opportunities
buffs,
to
and then
do
you're just
big
gonna
damage.
destroy it.
Since
This is
most
what
of
makes the
Trickster's
class so
other
powerful.
skills
Like,
seemed well suited for dealing with small to mid-sized
I
enemies.
will say you can see the health bar of that. I think it's a troll.
yeah,
When he's doing that dragon thing, he's obviously, I'm
Forth
assuming
an
he's also
illusion
buffed
of a
them up,
dragon that
so it goes
terrifies
from
any
full
enemy that
health
sees it,
to
even
half
large
health instantly. Was that the dragon that did that? Like,
I
what
don't
else hit him for half
know.
his health?
Which
Someone,
takes
I think
some
one of
time
them
to
threw a
cast,
rocket at it,
but brings
maybe?
forth an illusion of a dragon that
I think
terrifies
it-
Oh, no,
any
no, the
enemy that
spell?
sees it,
No,
even
the rock.
large ogres.
Either it was the
Down to
spell,
their
the rock,
knees,
I don't,
giving
whether
their
it was the
pawns
pawns or
ample
the trickster,
opportunity to do big damage.
and then you can see
Since
the pawns
most of
actually
Trickster's
damaging him
other
here as
skills
well.
seem
Yeah.
suited for dealing
I
with small to
remember, like,
mid-sized enemies, this
the
was a
first
really
few
nice
times you
addition to see
encounter
as
like
something that can
trolls in
also
the
help
first
you deal
game,
with
like
bigger
they're
and
pretty
badder
tanky,
enemies.
and you can expect like
The
it to
Trickster
be
was
a
not an easy
prolonged
vocation to
fight
figure
early
out
on.
in just an hour's
So
time. It
if
took
you can
me
deal
a
that kind of
little
damage,
while
then
to
that's pretty
fully
good.
grasp the aggro
Yeah.
system, avoiding pulling too much aggro and not having a way to get away from the enemies I just attracted, but once it clicked, I found it to be a uniquely satisfying vocation that brought to mind one of the core tenets of Devil May Cry's combat. It's not just about killing every enemy in the room, but how you kill every enemy in the room. It's an intentionally underpowered vocation that's designed to encourage creative thinking to solve difficult
Intentionally
combat problems in
underpowered.
ways beyond just swinging a weapon or hurling a tornado at it. And it's one that I'm very excited to experiment more with once I've got my hands on the full game. Thanks for watching, and this is
I
just
don't-
the beginning of
I
it.
don't know how to feel about that. I feel like we've seen some cool abilities and
Yeah.
some good like use cases for them. Yeah, the cliff thing is cool. I'm not really sure that. I don't think they would have designed the class around really doing a lot of that because you can't loot the monsters. Not every scenario is going to have a cliff. Certain bosses can fly anyway. So I feel like that might just be like a cool thing that you can do situationally, and there must be more to the actual class. But also, on one hand, they say potentially underpowered. On the other hand, they say they were killing everything so quick he couldn't do all of his little tricks and setup when he buffed them. So I don't know. It seems like it could be a pretty strong supporter, but I think it all depends on what other moves it actually has. If we haven't seen the full moveset
everything
here,
about this class to me is screaming busted. Like, even if people are saying like, oh yeah, it's underpowered, or you have to be creative with what you're thinking. Like, if you think about games like Elden Ring, if you feel about anything where you can summon something, like when you summon something into your world, they're usually remember the Mimic Tear in Elden Ring, like how busted that was. If you had like a good
everyone
setup for
was
that.
like, "Oh, you use Mimic Tear, you didn't really play the game."
Yeah, you didn't play the game. Like, that thing destroyed things if you had like the right setup for it, and then like you cloned yourself like really well. So in this, if you're not getting hit by the boss because you can kind of evade and then you can just do your buffs and you can continually like run around them, like you're just gonna be getting damage just like all the time and with little risk. So it should be interesting to see like how it all goes down.
I'm holding out hope again that there is like maybe 3 or 4 plus more skills that this like hybrid class has that we haven't seen, because the dragon summon is definitely really cool in that it is a massive AoE CC, maybe even does damage like we saw, but unconfirmed, but there was a massive chunk of damage there, as well as these other sort of like things he's got. So if there are some other cool summon skills or illusions and stuff like that, then I think the class would be even more fun to play. But if this is the whole kit of the class, which is basically buff, clone, wall, dragon, then I would feel a bit underwhelmed by it. So I'm hoping there's more skills. But that's the Trickster class, right? That's one of the new hybrid ones. We know that there's also Mystic Spearhand, which is kind of like the Darth Maul looking like Jedi class with its duo spear. Like, I love the way that one looks. But that we also have confirmed Magic Archer, which is returning from the first game, which is what I would pretty much like. I basically did 3 playthroughs back in the day. So I did a Magic Archer, an Assassin, and then the last playthrough, like, I just tried like pretty much everything. So I tried Mystic Knight and I tried like Warrior and stuff like that. So Magic Archer coming back is really cool, but we've also seen this change wherein it looks like all the vocations now only have like one set of skills, whereas if you go back to the first game and you play like the Strider or the Magic Archer, you'd have both the bow and the daggers. So it'll be interesting to see if that does exist in this, or if it doesn't exist, and that will sort of change how some of these classes play, even though they're from the first game. So it'll be interesting to see as we can learn more. But I enjoyed learning more about the Trickster. I want to learn more about the Mystic Spear Hand, which maybe that'll come out soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
What do you think?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much it. So that's the new class, and we'll be back when there's more stuff revealed, and we'll also be doing more videos on the main channel too. So Dragon's Dogma is something we're very much excited for. So keep your eyes peeled. But we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.